Hello, and welcome to Character Gallery. I'm here with the Japanese Train, aka Matt.
And I'm Master of the Lemons, aka Lemmy.
We have just been on a roll with Character Gallery lately, and I think that Lemmy and I have always wanted to push the envelope with Character Gallery. We love to do characters like Mavis, Oliver was one. We like to do some of those bread and butter characters, but we also love to do the stuff that's just way out there. The stuff that you just can't find in anywhere.
Yeah, the stuff that you know barely anything about and have to dive deep into it.
The 812, the machine.
Exactly, like characters like that just have so little to go off of, and it's fun to spin them into whatever your heart desires.
In today's episode, I think we have the least amount to go off of. I was literally just on the Thomas Wiki. I was just doing my regular surfing where I just click links and see wherever they take me.
Your regular surfing.
I was just surfing, and it led me to the Skarloey Funicular Railway. That sounds really fun to say for starters, so this is automatically going to be great.
Funicular.
A funicular railway, for those who don't know, it works just like the incline. It works just like Owen. It works, those are also funicular railways, basically. It's an incline system where usually with two vehicles, two trolleys, people movers, whatever, one car goes up and the other car comes down. And usually it's because of a weight imbalance. Later funiculars use an electric motor, that sort of thing. So
right.
In the incline, it's because one load of trucks is filled and one load of trucks is empty. With some funicular railways, it's because one car is filled with water and one car is not, and they rotate off which one is filled with water.
Right.
And like I said, others have an electric motor. So this is, basically that same principle.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's and the key thing I think that's really interesting about a funicular railway is just that it's such a short distance. It's like literally like this one little stretch that you're basically trying to get people up a very tall incline quickly. And that's it. Like you get in, you stand on the train for like a minute and then get off. Like it's barely anything, I mean, even at Six Flags amusement park where I live, like, there's, something kind of like that. Like, it's, obviously it's a much smaller scale version that's more of a novelty. But, getting people to, the higher level of the park, you could take, a funicular railway. And it's literally just these cars that, shuttle up and down this very steep slope.
Yeah.
And it's so steep, in fact, that it kind of puts the Col de Fel Railway to shame. I mean, it's like...
I was watching this one YouTube video of a British funicular railway. It was opened, 1876. And they actually set the fare to go up so prohibitively high because there was a wealthy neighborhood at the very top. So they didn't want people of a lower class paying to go up the funicular railway.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's that's how short of a distance we're talking of. It's within the same town. It's within the same
right. You could use it as a gated community essentially if you wanted to. That's how short the thing is.
And this funicular railway goes from the town of Skarloey to the lake.
Yeah, which is just kind of crazy to think about that, there's a lot of things on Sodor that we don't know a lot about. We don't know a lot about, the Ministry of Defense engine. We don't know a lot about the Peel Godred branch. But even those, we have some idea. But this is crazy because it's literally just, a couple sentences.
We're going off a paragraph here, guys.
Yeah, it's literally just in People, History, and Railways, Audrey just rattles this off, just oh yeah, by the way, there's this funicular railway. And he says, too, it's built in, the 80s. It's literally
September
built.
of 1985.
Yeah, it's one of the few times he ever actually gives us a date.
Do you want me? I could just read the paragraph.
Yeah, you know what? Read the paragraph, because that's where we're starting with this. Is this blows my mind, guys. The fact that, there's just this little railway that we know nothing about until today.
All right, class, turn your Island of Sodor People, History, and Railway books to page 64.
Yes.
It says here, also not marked on the map, because it is a very recent development, is a funicular railway from the station to the village for the convenience of residents and visitors. It was opened in September 1985 and is a venture undertaken and financed jointly by the railway company, the Skarloey Railway, and the hotel keepers. The railway undertook its construction and holds 51% of the shares. The hotel proprietors hold the remaining 49%.
And that's it? That's literally all of it?
That's literally all of it.
Okay, so you can see what we mean here, where there's just not a lot to go off of. And it's exciting, because what little is there is really interesting. I mean, so essentially, we've got a funicular railway, which really necessitates that there are two engines in question here. We don't know anything about them yet, but we've got two engines, if you can call them that. And so basically the only reason this railway exists is because of a deal made between the Skarloey Railway and the local hotels and businesses that, can't, there are people in the village that are trying to sell their wares and trying to kind of profit off of the tourism industry, but there's no easy way to get there. Because think about it, Skarloey literally means lake in the woods. That is the direct translation.
And then the railway only takes you into the woods, not the lake. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, to get to the lake, you've got to trudge through all this overgrowth and get down this path, and it's and so imagine if instead you could just build a railway directly to the lake, which is what everyone's coming to see, right? And that's what they do. So these engines are the final leg in the journey to Skarloey. I mean, honestly, if you're coming from the mainland, or say, imagine you live in Tidmouth, right? Well, so you get on a train at Tidmouth, Gordon takes you to Crovan's Gate. Then from Crovan's Gate, Skarloey takes you to Skarloey, and then from Skarloey, the funicular engines take you down to the lake. So it's they're the last leg in that expansive journey. And it's such a tiny last step, but it's it's one that matters.
And think about it, the railways and the businesses at this lake have such a symbiotic relationship that it works out for both of them.
Oh yeah.
They get people down to the lake, which means more money and all that. So, and I like the proximity to the Skarloey Railway, too, because you could even have this railway go up to the station.
You could, honestly. That's so cool. Imagine, the terminus, it's literally, it's almost like you've got kind of this transfer platform, and you could see the funicular engines kind of come up this really steep slope and kind of go over the ledge, and now they're up next to, regular Skarloey engines. Imagine what, somebody like Sir Handel would say to, one of these engines. He would be... what would he think? Would he have respect?
Well, and he's viewed as the express on his railways, so he sees absolutely no purpose for these guys. He would probably view him very much like the incline trucks that he's had to deal with before.
That's true, and he has a long history of comparing rolling stock to trucks.
Yeah.
That's honestly something that is extremely it's something that will become more and more politically incorrect the further into the 80s and 90s we get. Imagine, we're in the 1980s now, right? When Sir Handel first arrived and said, "You cattle trucks, this is no way to pull a train," etc. When he said that in the 50s, it's okay, maybe don't say that, Sir Handel, but, it's it wasn't that crazy back then. Now in the 80s, he's "You're cattle trucks," and they're "Oh!" And everyone at the platform is "Good God, did you just use that term?" And Sir Handel's it's the 80s.
The funiculars start crying. One of them's telling the other one at the bottom, "Don't come up here, it's Sir Handel."
Yeah. Right. I imagine that Sodor is becoming a softer and nicer place by this point, and so it's Sir Handel's kind of still got the 50s attitude, and so you are it is so politically incorrect to call coaches cattle cars at this point. It's just not cool. So he would Sir Handel would get canceled so many times. He was just...
Don't give Sir Handel a Twitter account.
I know. It's what did I do this time? But it's interesting because just picture that. Picture Sir Handel next to one of these funicular engines. Because the thing is they would be on like a slant, and like the shape of these engines is so interesting.
If you like were to put them on a flatbed, and Lemmy and I both actually drew concept art before we started this episode.
We did, yeah, and I'm looking at yours right now, man.
If you laid them on a flatbed, they would look like they're reclining. They're like
exactly,
their faces pointed up to the sky. You know?
I know, it's kind of like, you know, we think that the slanted boilers on the Coldie Fell engines are crazy. No, these guys have them beat. Like, right. That's just kind of crazy. And but that's the thing. It's interesting. Like, they really are built for their environment. Like, they do not work in any other context. You could never like if you really got creative with like Coldie, right? You could rebuild him to work on the Skarloey Railway. You know, it's possible. Just give him different wheels and maybe change the boiler a little bit. But like the funicular engines, like they are like entirely slanted. Their entire bottom is at a diagonal so that they can stay upright on a steep hill. So they really have no hope of ever functioning anywhere else other than the very tiny section of land that they were built for. And I think that's really interesting because they're kind of trapped.
How would they feel about that?
And this is what we were talking about, Matt, is that like I think we have two very different personalities here. I think, doesn't it make a lot of sense? Like, imagine this character dynamic is that one of them is a real upper, you know, very cheerful, very enthusiastic, very optimistic, and then the other one is a total downer, totally depressed and bummed, you know, just constantly looking down and just you know, yeah. Like, because that's constantly their life, isn't it? One of them is ascending up to the top cheerfully, and the other one is going all the way down to the bottom. Oh.
And I even get that vibe off of the trucks in the story trucks. Like, you know...
Yeah, on the original Incline.
The loaded trucks have a different personality, it seems, to the bottom trucks, who seem more friendly. But that one, it's like friendly versus ferocious in their trucks. So for this one, I love the idea of, like, one jolly, one downer.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I just think it reflects the way that they operate, doesn't it? And of course, they both go up and down every day, but like I think one of them favors the down position and one of them favors the up. You know, I'm kind of picturing, like, I have a rough idea of the characters in my head. I'm kind of picturing a boy and a girl. I think, and they're very much siblings, you know. I mean, the two of them, they're obviously like, you know, brother and sister. And I imagine the sister is like the very cheerful, excitable one. And
I had the same vision. Like, we literally
cool.
We both drew the same, like, smile, even.
That's true, we did, yeah. And I'm sure that you guys looking at the screen now are seeing that reflected, because by now I've drawn something to go along with our vision for the characters. But it's like, it's just, I could totally see that, couldn't you? Like, you know, having you know, one that's very cheerful and very excitable, and oh my goodness, this is going to be great. And you know, she goes up to the very, you know, highest peak, right? And she's like, I love going all the way up there because I get to see the lake in totality, and I get to see over the trees and the mountains in the distance and the whole island. And then at the bottom, I actually get to see all the holiday goers going to the lake and having fun, and like both the top and the bottom to her are great, right? Like, she like sees like a lot of value in everything. But then you've got the other guy, and he's just, I don't know, it's just not, I'm constantly descending down to the lake and then going back up to the top, and it's just so...
Every time I'm at the top, it reminds me that I'm about to go down.
Oh, come on, don't speak that way. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to have fun on that little track, huh? Up and down and down and up. I mean, I never get tired of it.
Down and down, and then when I go up, I have to go down.
Well, but then you go up again, don't you? Like,
we don't even get to the top of the hill.
Well, we get close enough, don't we? You know,
close enough.
Exactly, right? Like,
well, and I love the name. I'm assuming this is for the female one, the sprightly one, because you named her Sprite in your concept art.
That's true, I did. Yeah, I'm glad you saw that. Yeah, like I imagine that her name is Sprite. You know, I think that's nice. And then the other one I named Somber, which, you know, what do you think of that? Like, you know,
I like Somber. When I was looking up names, I was looking at like Sudric names, but I like that your names are reflective of the character. Sprite and Somber sounds nice.
Thanks. And that's the thing is, like, you know, I just think there's such a personality-based duo, you know, it's nice to kind of give descriptive adjectives for
I
them.
even thought that, like, Stone would be an interesting name, because it's like... It almost reminds me a little bit like a stone is a rock. It's like always falling down.
Yeah, that's true. Like Sprite and Stone. Yeah, maybe that
Stone.
then. Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
For some reason, it's satisfying that it's the same number of letters too. So, because somber is just full on an adjective, you know. Maybe his full name is Somber Stone. Like,
Somber Stone.
on his like. God, I almost said license plate on his nameplate.
Pulled over for speeding.
Yeah. Sorry, officer. I was just trying to feel something.
Stanley, you all right down there? It's the police.
Again. Oh my god. But I like that. Sprite and Stone. So those are our funicular engines. And it's really interesting. I mean, the fact that they both have the exact same life, basically. They are in the exact same position. I mean, they really, you know, they see the exact same process with very different eyes. And it's interesting. I honestly, Matt, this really reminds me of like at this point, I think it's a pretty commonly known philosophy. It's like an old Greek or Roman fable. I can't remember which. It's the whole Sisyphus myth. You know,
is Sisyphus in like the Odyssey? I think he's in the Odyssey or something.
Might be. I'm not totally sure, but I think a lot of people know the story these days. Is that it's basically a guy who is doomed by the gods to push a boulder up a mountain every day, only for it to roll back down, and then he has to start pushing it again forever.
For eternity. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, that's like, isn't that literally the position these engines are in?
Well,
like,
and there's, I think it's even like Sisyphus chooses to laugh about the boulder. You know,
exactly.
It's all about perception, and so
and that's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like Stone reflects the first half of the myth, where Sisyphus is, you know, devastated and feels very depressed at the fact that he has to do this, and then Sprite represents the second half, where she looks at the situation she's in and laughs and is cheerful about it and sees good things in it. It's like, sure, I may be pushing a boulder up the same hill for the rest of my life, but there's a lot of good things to see. You can look out and see the sky, and it actually gives you good hard work to do rather than just sitting around. And, you know, like, and you know, you can make friends with the birds that are flying by, you know.
Birds pooped on my cab.
Oh dear, I just thought they chose a white roof for you instead of the black. I'm sorry, I
never get cleaned.
Oh dear, I really wish I could avoid looking, but it's just you're so...
Is that Rheneas up there? He looks clean.
Well, yes, because...
But we're an afterthought, because we only go up and down.
Well, I just got a cleaning the other day. I mean, they're going to give you one soon, but somehow I don't think you're going to believe that until it happens.
I haven't been cleaned in 20 years.
Well, they come in the night and clean you, and then you wake up and you haven't noticed. It's not their fault.
But they clean me without my consent.
Like, it's just always finding things to be, you know, to be like a downer.
Stone the Somber.
Yeah. And then Sprite the Sprightly and Stone the Somber.
Oh, I like that. Sprite
That's pretty
the Sprightly
good.
And Stone the Somber.
That sounds like an old nursery rhyme almost.
Really though. Well, and so I love the fact that these are also the two characters deal with like tourists. They deal with people coming up and down from the hotels. So like
that's
people
true.
Visit Sodor. You know, so when they see the funicular railway, they're probably like, "Oh my gosh, there's railways all over the place."
Right.
And they think that the funicular is like the greatest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that. And again, they would have two different ways of viewing it. I think Sprite would think that, oh yeah, we're this niche, unique railway, we're this cool thing. And Somber's like, oh, but there's the Northwestern Railway. They're probably better. The Scarlow is probably better.
Exactly,
you know?
Yeah. And Sir Handel and engines like him would feed into that, where it's like, you know, between you and me, Stone, we both know who the real engine here is. Right. And the thing is, he probably says that after a conversation with Henry at Croven's Gate, where Henry told him, "You're not a real engine, you little toy." And then Sir Handel's like, "God damn it! All right, fine, I'll take my rage out on someone else." But, you know, obviously Stone doesn't see that part, right? He just sees this, like, this engine that is more conventional than he'll ever be, and just says, you know what? I get to go down a 15-mile stretch every day. Isn't that nice? But you poor thing, you don't even go a mile. Probably never gone a mile in your whole life, you know. I could tell you stories of the outside. No, please don't. It'll just bum me out, you know. Oh, very well. Yeah, anyway, treat my passengers well, because they're going to want to ride back on a proper engine, you know. And he just kind of puffs away with no further, no further care. And that's the thing, is, like, I could just so see that, like, they'd both, like, you know, it's interesting. How are funicular engines, like they're never gonna, I would say that later that night in the sheds, Sprite and
they're
Stone,
always on one end.
Exactly.
Or the other.
That's what I was about to say, is, like, how do you arrange that? Like, literally the only time they can talk to each other is like at, like, a passing loop.
So
right?
I've seen that there's two ways to do a funicular. One is actually exactly like your concept art, where it's just they each have one lane of track. They never, come into contact with each other.
Right.
They each have one lane. Then the other way of doing it is they both share a lane with a little switch track in the middle so they can pass.
Ooh, you know what would be cool? Because honestly, let's do that instead.
Because that's what I put on my concept art. I even wrote a place for conversation.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And the thing is, I think, like, honestly, this would be a really powerful scene, is if they do literally share one track and then they only have a little passing loop right there, right? Well then, what would be cool is if this is very dramatic, but I what if at some point it just gets to be all too much for Stone, and he's looking down into, like, the lake beyond at the bottom, and he's just like, you know what? Might be easier if I just tossed myself in there. And he says stuff like that all the time, and Sprite's just like, oh, you don't mean that, Stone. And Stone's just like, I don't know, it seems kind of like it'd be better. But one day, he actually decides to. And, like, it's like, and it surprises everybody. He makes sure there's no passengers in there, right? He's, like, light engine, if you could call it that. But like, all of a sudden, he just gives one wistful gaze up at Sprite, and then the cable snaps, and he starts
think about it like this. They're both codependent. So
exactly, and this is the key. That's the key, man. Is that so when he snaps, Sprite goes after him, and because the tracks converge like you described, she's able to race down there and jam him so that they bump into each other Bill and Ben style at the last moment, and she manages to stop him. Like, she's like,
that's cool.
She's just like, no, Stone, stop! You have so much to live for! And she flies down there, and somehow, even though they're equal in size and shape and everything, goes faster than him with sheer willpower, and they jam just in time. And so, she manages to knock him off the tracks, and they're both derailed at the bottom.
Why didn't you let me die?
For so many reasons, Stone. For one thing, you're my brother, I care about you. But for another thing, I could never live without you. I could never run this line without you. You are my everything. Sincerely and truly, and the whole Skarloey Railway depends on you. We all depend on you. You can't pull a stunt like that. I care a lot.
But they could just get another one.
It wouldn't be the same. It really, really wouldn't.
Yeah, they'd probably be happier than me.
I would not. But here's the interesting part. So, I say that as if every bit of this hasn't been interesting so far. This is great. But the thing is, so imagine now that Sprite is more or less in fine condition after that. They just have to bend a few, pieces of metal back into place. But Stone is pretty dinged up. He needs to be sent to the works, which is the first time he's ever left this line, like, ever, right? And And you know, I mean, a huge source of his depression, I'm sure, is the fact that he is stuck in this tiny little area for his whole life. So now all of a sudden he gets to leave. He gets to see the world, right? Which is unlike somebody like Thomas, who's like, I deserve to see the world. I'm going to break out of this yard and I'm going to make it happen. Instead, Stone's just like, I'm never going to see it. I'm sad. You know, he doesn't actually ever consider that he could just try.
No one ever asks where I'm going to go on a big world adventure.
Exactly, yeah.
Everyone asks where's Stone, but not how's Stone.
I literally asked you how's... Oh, never mind. You're not going to believe it, you know. But I think, you know, it would be interesting, right? Because he would get to leave. And here's the interesting part: they bring in like a temporary replacement in the meantime. So now Sprite does have another vehicle with her.
I pictured, for some reason, that they just put like Goldie in there.
Just hurtling down the track, just like, I wasn't built for this!
Douglas is like going to the Goldie-Fell Railway, and they have like a tarp, and they kidnap Goldie in the middle of the night to take him to the Skarloey Railway.
God damn it. Like, that's nuts. Imagine that. like I'm just imagining like a very tense scene where Duncan's talking to like Sprite, and Duncan's just like, so you need a replacement, eh? Well, just for the time being, I can make that happen. I can make it happen. And he leaves, and she's like, wait, what are you going to do? Duncan, I appreciate the help, but what are you going to do? And then
Douglas pulls up, and Goldie's like muffled screaming under this tarp.
I've got the answer to your problems. Here's Goldie. They take the tarp off. He's like, where am I? What do you want? Oh my god. We don't have the money to pay for whatever you want, you know, like it's some sort of mob thing. And she's just like, Duncan, put him back.
And Catherine's there too.
Wait, oh my god, yeah. Like just dragging behind Duncan, like you'd be surprised how close the gauging is. Honestly, Goldie Fell's closer in terms of gauging than Sir Handel's wheels are, and that's saying something. I heard that. He's like on the approach up, you know. But then she's like, put Goldie and Catherine back. And Duncan's like, are you kidding me? Do you know how much work it was to get them here? A lot of work. I had to cash in on some real favors. I mean, fine. I'll put them back. I'll put them back. And he does. And Sprite's just like, now I'm alone and I'm implicated in a felony. Great.
And then they removed Goldie from the hitch, and Sprite shoots down the funicular.
Not again! but you know, they're looking for a replacement is the point.
Yeah. So who's her replacement?
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I was thinking just a random new funicular engine, but it's like we could come up with something kind of crazy or kind of clever.
It would be cool if it was like super modernized, or even like, you know, just like these are from the 80s, so you know they're
right.
But I'd imagine they'd be constructed in a relatively traditional looking way to represent what the Skarloey is like.
We haven't talked much about how they look. I think they would definitely, a lot of them would be made of wood, or at least look like it. I'm kind of picturing like they're not totally in Skarloey livery, like they'd be like kind of a darker red, like kind of the wood is all stained like a
maroon
dark
red almost.
Exactly, yeah, with like gold trim around the edges, and like, you know, it'd be kind of classy looking, you know.
Yeah.
And
I also pictured red, honestly. Like,
yeah,
I have the same vision.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, we should do something like that. And then, you know, and so imagine now the funicular engine they bring in. Maybe when Stone has his stunt where he tries to throw himself in the lake, maybe that happens, like he's finally fed up after like 10 years on this railway, right? So like they arrive in 1985, but now we're in 1995, and funicular technology has moved along a lot. And so, you know, this modern engine, you know, is quite different from the two of them. Maybe.
There are these funicular engines that look like, I literally, when I sent them to you, I literally called them like if a DeLorean was a locomotive. And these are the Montmartre, like Paris funiculars.
Ooh.
And that's what they're from. And they're just like, they're these modern looking, semi-modern looking. They look like they're from the 90s or the 80s.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
That's kind of what I get, is like this super modern, like,
They
very
really
like
do.
stainless steel, kind of like characterless looking one.
Exactly, yeah. Very DeLorean looking, you're right about that. Kind of just this silver stainless steel look all over and just very slick.
So you're getting 3 character galleries for the price of 1, people. You better be happy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but yeah, you know, I mean, I think that's definitely like a cool idea for who they bring in, and so it's like, you know, you think about that. I mean, Sprite has spent her entire life with Stone. Like, that has been her, you know, that's been her closest friend forever. And now she's all alone, and she gets on great with people, right? Like, she talks to the tourists endlessly, and she, like, really makes their journey a pleasant one. And, you know, it's just, she really, you know, gives them a great time. But the thing is, like, she's still, you know, the person she leans on the most is definitely Stone. Now, he's in the works, right? And we've got this new funicular car that's so modern and sleek. What is the personality of this new car?
I almost feel like this car would be, so if Sprite is like super happy and Somber's like super sad, then this one would be like totally neutral and like ambivalent. And
Ooh,
like,
interesting.
Like
so she's kind of like
a personality.
Yeah, like she's kind of just like rolled right out of the factory, and she's just kind of got maybe never smiled in her life, just a very straight kind of like a straight mouth, and just kind of like, hello there, I am, and then, you know, she doesn't even have a name yet, just like, I am 0-73. How do you do? Yeah, it's like, she's very polite, but she's just doesn't really feel much, at least not yet, right? And Sprite is just kind of like, well, hey there, I'm Sprite. It's great to meet you. I've been feeling rather lonely. And then you know,
you seem to be displaying extreme emotions. Are you all right?
Yes, I'm quite all right, especially now that you're here. You don't seem to be smiling much there. Did I do something wrong, or you're not really reacting much.
No, I am fully operational.
Well, there's a bit more to life than just being operational, though, isn't there? I mean, you know,
well, I suppose you could be broken down, and you are not broken down, and I am not broken down, so we are both fine.
Well, there's a middle ground between being broken down and not broken down. I like she's just not really getting anywhere with this new vehicle, right? And it's honestly making her realize like that even a lot of like Somber's like negative emotions are better than this just kind of total emotionlessness. You know, it's like it would be interesting to have this kind of third vehicle here for a while that is kind of in between both of them, where it's just there's neutrality is like kind of the third emotion. You know, you've got this kind of deep sadness, and then you've got this just jubilation, and then you've got in between just kind of a really neutral character. But
you're right.
You know, and maybe things even run a little too well while Somber's gone, right? It's just it's very, you know, it's extremely precise. And the thing is, every time Sprite passes
Somber,
by, yeah, like even every time Sprite passes by, like she doesn't get a hello. It's just like it's just maybe like the like the regulation required like 2 honks of the horn or whatever, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
They must be calculated 0.5 seconds apart each time.
Yeah, right.
Whereas like Stone would at least like say like, you know, if Sprite was like, isn't it a lovely day? Then Stone would at least be, what's good about it? There's nothing good about it. I'm squeaking in the wheels.
Right, yeah. But at least she's getting like very, very, you know, she's getting personality, you know, she's getting something that is genuine and real and authentic, you know. And it's like that would be certainly interesting. So while Sprite is kind of here, bored out of her mind because she doesn't have Somber here with her, you know, you've got I like how we're using them interchangeably. We've got like Stone the Somber, like he's like, you know, so he's like at the works, and I'm imagining he's at the works, like he's at Croven's Gate, right?
Can you imagine that trip over there where he's like, because he's being placed on a flatbed for like the second time of his life, and he's like just looking up at the sky. Like this is a view he never gets before.
Exactly, yeah. Like he's probably not even really able to look up at the clouds because he's just not built that way. Oh, he can just look down at the deep, dark water of the lake, and that's like it. But But it's interesting because, like, I kind of imagine the sequence being like they put him on the flatbed, right? And think about how slow this guy usually goes. Like, very, very, very slow.
Yeah.
So now imagine he's on a flatbed and Rusty is taking him along the line and he's only going like 30, 40 miles per hour. But to Somber, it's just like, whoa! Like, it's like everything. There's like, I imagine if you were to film this, there'd just be like light blurring past him, right? And everything would blur. And it's just like all this.
And then you'd cut to like Rusty just like humming. Rusty just like.
You just cut to him being like. It's just the whole world blurring past him, right? Like so much sensory input that he's never gotten in his entire life.
Oh my god, I think he would die if you put him in the Express.
I know. Yeah, he would not survive that. So by the time they stop at the first station, right? Rusty's just like, are you all right back there? You don't seem peachy. And Somber's just sitting there. His eyes are like pinpoints, and he's just like, what was that? That was the Skarloey Railway. No, I mean, what was all the clouds, hills, passing trains?
How fast were we even going?
About 36.
Oh my god.
I could go faster if you want. I mean, if
No.
All right. Suppose we could afford to slow down a few miles per hour. All righty, on to the next station.
Skarloey passes by like, are you alright, Stone? You seem to be having a panic.
I've never experienced the world like this before! I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Seems bad to me.
Oh my gosh.
And then Skarloey, then he goes up to his station, right? And there's and then Sprite is there, and he's like, "Hello there, Sprite. How are you getting on without your rather disturbed brother?"
Bored. I've never felt this before, but I'm rather bored.
Bored? I've never heard you say something like that before. That's a real surprise.
It's 0-73. I mean,
does she not have? She doesn't have a name. She's got to have a name.
You'll see her in a moment. She's been such a stick in the mud. Every time I try and talk to her, she just talks about regulations. It's all she's ever talked about. Regulations, systems in order, everything checks out. Calibration, everything.
Still, I'm sure she can't be that bad.
Oh, you'll see her in a moment.
Hello there, number 1 Skarloey Railway locomotive. Skarloey will do, thank you. Good to meet you.
Steam leaking out of all cylinders. Systems inoperational. Recommended. Scrap.
I beg your pardon. I am perfectly operational. Sure, a few parts fell off on the way here, but we glued them back on, and that's that.
And then 73 goes down the hill, and then Sprite comes back up. See? You see what I'm talking about?
Right, yeah. Like, oh, that's true. They can't be there at the same time. So it's like, you've got like a back and forth where it's like, you know, Sprite leaves and she's just like, you'll see. And then you've got 73 there. And it's almost like Bill and Ben during the Diseasel, where it's just like, you know, they're popping back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly
Like that.
And Sprite's just like, while she's waiting at the bottom, she's just like, oh, I bet he's seeing it now. I bet he's really realizing that, you know, and she goes back and she hears him shouting at the top, like, you know, how dare you? My cylinders are just fine. well, one of them at least. And then
Skarloey does that thing in Four Little Engines where he springs up again.
Yeah, literally at that moment. It's like, oh, it's simply a minor metal wound. Don't worry about it.
Appraisal of scrap locomotive. 3 pounds. Well, surely there's a few extra decimal points after that. I'm over 150 years old.
Locomotives lose half their value after driving off of the lot. How dare you! She goes back down, and when Sprite returns, Sprite just looks at Skarloey. She doesn't even say anything. She's like, told you so. And Skarloey's like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I cannot wait until Somber gets back. He's
got a better attitude than this engine. You know? And then we cut to Somber arriving at Crovan's Gate, and and so he's finally there. Had a few panic attacks. Rusty literally creeps into the station at like 5 miles an hour, and Somber's still breathing heavily. And then so he arrives, and Peter Sam's just like, Rusty, why are you going so slow? What's the holdup? It's this engine, if you can call him that. I mean, he keeps having a panic attack every time I go over 6 miles an hour. Oh dear!
Don't mention 6 miles an hour. That's
sorry,
more than I can take.
Oh my God! I thought I was slow and steady, but he's a whole nother story, Peter Sam.
Life is misery.
Oh goodness, and he's
You're
so cynical.
And then you die.
Oh goodness me! I've never heard such negativity. You know what, Rusty? I could perhaps take him the rest of the way to the works if that's what you want. Oh, please do it, Peter Sam. I mean, this is the first time in my entire life I have ever pawned a responsibility off on someone else.
Everyone in my life passes me off to the next one in line.
Oh, God. This one does. Sorry. And Rusty just leaves with none of the bedside manner required for this type of engine. And Peter Sam is just like, hello there. Your name is Stone the Somber, if I do recall correctly, from my trips up to Skarloey, yes?
Yeah.
It seems like you've had quite the adventure on your way up here. Or down here, rather.
I nearly died.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I mean, it seems like Rusty did a somewhat all right job.
What's wrong with your funnel?
What, I beg your pardon?
Well, it's just like me, sad and squashed.
My funnel's fine, thank you very much. It's a little narrow, but it does the job.
Everybody says that they're fine to deflect from the inevitable end of the universe.
Oh, goodness me.
Mighty Mac.
Like, Mighty Mac's literally, like, about to leave with a train, the next platform, and Mighty's just like, what exactly do you want, Peter Sam? We're about to leave. It's just that, I don't know, my optimistic viewpoint is suddenly deflating, and I don't know why. I think it's this guy. Please get involved quickly before I lose all optimism.
Every time Stone the Somber gets passed off to different trains, like he finally makes it to where he needs to go, and by the end of that, like every engine on the Skarloey Railway needs therapy.
Yeah, pretty much. So like imagine that, like Mighty Mac. It's actually interesting thinking about Stone running into Mighty Mac, because they like those two have a very close relationship where they're bound together permanently in the same way that Sprite and Somber do.
Yeah.
So like, it kind of makes sense. Like you could have like you could have Mighty kind of talk to Stone about the fact that it's like, well, I'm sure you probably miss your sister, right? I mean, that's got to have an impact on you.
I feel
probably.
like I just weigh her down.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I mean, that would be like me saying I weigh Mac down. You do weigh me down! Hey, you're not making the point properly, Mac. Let me explain to you how you should act properly. I do act properly. It's like they get into an argument in the middle of like Stone and Somber's conversation. It's just like...
Well, and then Mighty Mac could even interject and be like, but I would be a fool of an engine if I lied and said that I would be a different engine, or that I would be the same engine without Mac. I don't know who I would be without Mac. Mac is the yin to my yang. He is a sprightly young chap, but one that I love very dearly.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I feel the same way towards you, Mighty. I'd get lost half the time if I didn't have you to lean on. And that's the fact of the matter there, Stone. I mean, you've got to have your sibling by your side, or you're never going to be able to keep things straight. You've got to
I gotta be honest, Stone. You must weigh Sprite down with this behavior. I mean, gosh, everyone's devastated by the things that you've said.
We just hear, like, Peter Sam quietly whimpering in the sheds nearby.
I knew my funnel wasn't the right one!
Sir Handel's in there with him too, like, get yourself together, man! Like, biffs him in the butt first. Oh! But yeah, so like, and then for the first time, Stone shows some self-awareness, and he's like, huh, I mean, yeah, I do weigh her down, but I always thought it was just because I was too heavy, or I wasn't good enough at my job, or I don't know, I maybe my attitude is the very thing that's it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the situation. Huh. And so he's like,
your soul, Stone the Somber.
Like,
I could really choose on any given day to bicker with Mighty, but well, that wouldn't be cricket, would it?
No, so you just choose half the days instead, which is...
Oh, shut up, Mighty. We're trying to make a point.
Yeah. And so Stone, like, Mighty Mac's the last one to, like, shunt Stone into the works, right? And Mighty's just like, think about what we've said, and then Stone's in there. It'd be interesting. Now Stone gets to meet Victor, because now Victor's like, all right, oh my, it appears that Stone the Somber is, he's sounding too much like Scarlowe. How do I fix this?
Scarlowe's like, it sounds like someone's doing a me impression.
I don't like your Scarlowe impression, Victor. It's not very close.
Listen, the only one who can do a good Scarlowe impression is Glyn.
And I happen to know the dark secret as to why he can. Like, Victor just knows everything about these engines. Just like, well, between you and me, my friend, Scarlowe did donate a cylinder to Glyn. There's a little bit of overlap there. But yeah, so, Victor's now here. In this scenario, and Victor can fix anybody, right? Like, if there's anyone who can repair an engine, it's him. And so Stone is now in his workshop, in his hands, and and he's such a downer, and Stone's just like, all right, well, I need my axles fixed and a few buffers mended, and no, my friend, you need more than that. You need a good talking to. You need somebody to really understand you. Someone to relate to you. And Stone's just like, well, I guess, technically, but that's kind of very difficult emotional work I'm not prepared to do, so maybe you could just fix my axles. No, I must diagnose the problem in totality. And my friend, you need, Are you calling me a problem? I'm saying you have problems that are keeping you from your full potential. I mean, you are even more depressed than when you first arrived, Stone. A full decade ago, no less. I always told the Thin Controller that he should send you back here, at least once a year to have maintenance, but he ignored me and said that you could just wash the bird crap off with a little bit of Windex, but that's not the way to do it.
Windex is pretty acidic.
I know it is. I told him that, and he didn't listen. Like, he takes a lot more of what he says seriously than he needs to. But, the point being, Victor's like, you are not leaving this works until you are fully healed. Not just in terms of your axles, but in terms of your self-loathing, my friend. We shall correct it. And it's like, maybe he who could really help Stone turn things around?
You know what'd be funny is if Victor also has a mental health profession.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. It's like, all right, that's it. We have fixed your axles, which took approximately 20 minutes because I'm so good at what I do. So now we'll put you on the flatbed and put you into the mental health area of Croven's Gate. And they just push him through a curtain, and now it's the other side of the works. And it's just like Molly just sitting there being all sad, and it's just like Henry being all venting about trees.
Arthur's having one of his panic attacks.
Yeah, right. And Stone's like, oh, do I really belong amongst all these Debbie Downers? And they're all unanimously like, yes, you do. So and they maybe they're around a turntable. Like this section of the works has like a specific turntable, and it's literally like a therapy circle. Like all.
What's funny is like Stone is again angled up, so he's looking at the ceiling like he's lying down on like a therapy couch.
That's true. Yeah. Oh my God, that's perfect.
It all started when I was built. They told me I never amount to anything.
Mm-hmm. I understand, my friend.
I was just a coach that they built wrong, so they decided to make me into a funicular. I mean, who builds a coach wrong? It's just a rectangular prism.
Yeah. But, like, at the same time, it's, like, helping him talking about it, right?
Right.
And he just kind of, like, who else would be here? Who are, like, Sodor's most downhearted engines?
I like to think that Fergus would be here just because he's like, I always have to do it right. I was told from day one, you must always do it right. And I project that onto everyone else.
I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do it wrong. I just can't. I physically can't.
Like the head of Cranky is in the...
Cranky's just like, why do I have to be disassembled to go to my therapy? Come on! It's not fair.
I know they said I had to unpack my problems, but this is worse.
Now would someone please unpack my body? It's still in 57 different crates in that goods train outside. Like, but yeah, that's Cranky. Like, you know, you just got like a bunch of engines that just come here, and they have like a surface level reason, like, well, my brakes are oily. Yes, that's it. So yeah. I'm here. Now let me talk about my problems for 3 hours. You know? But yeah, I could see that, right?
That's why they don't bother Victor.
Yeah, honestly.
Don't bother Victor, he's leading group therapy.
Right.
I want to return to Sprite for a little bit, because
for sure.
I have a whole plot thread surrounding Sprite that I did not write down for you, but I have it in my notes.
I want to hear this.
So, if Somber is coming around to his feelings, Sprite is on the descent. And
interesting.
I think that instead of becoming like Somber, she becomes just incredibly bored. She's understimulated. She's really bored. So she becomes less sprightly and is more just like, just itching for something fun. Itching for that same rush that she had when she was with Somber.
Exactly.
So I imagine that like Harold or Jeremy are flying overhead, or even Harold like touches down at Skarloey for some reason.
Interesting.
And she gets introduced to the idea of flight.
Oh no!
So Harold's
I can just imagine this. Sprite is just at the very bottom, waiting for passengers to get off, and Harold touches down at a nearby helipad, and he's just sitting there, and she's just like, so what you doing? Yes, well, I'm just here to deliver some needed supplies. There's some things that aren't really all that easy to get here by rail, Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. What are those? Well, on top, those are my propellers, dear. Yes, I use those to soar through the air. Soar through the air? Yes. Like, he's starting to feel like he shouldn't be answering these questions. He's just like, why are you asking exactly?
It just seems like you were going so fast. I mean, do you go that fast all the time?
Oh, yes. Sometimes I go faster. I mean, the air marshal doesn't really like it, but I do, yes.
And then Tiger Moth sweeps down and, like, crop dusts Harold, and he's like, eat crop dust, you flopper chopper!
Oh, you! And he takes off immediately and goes.
And they start chasing each other around, and Sprite is like...
But, like, Tiger Moth flies so low, he chops the heads off of, like, a ton of trees. Bet you thought I was going to say something else, didn't you?
I left those days in World War I.
Oh, no. Anyway.
And they're flying around, they're chasing each other. Even, like, Jeremy flies by overhead, and Sprite is like, that's just what I need. No more systems checks. No more operational exhaustion.
Right.
I need to fly.
Exactly. So she starts like skipping her maintenance so that she's more likely to come off the tracks.
And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna fly. 73 will be able to live on her own. She's neutral after all. I've gotta I've got to fly.
I could see her engineering something herself. Kind of a Hugo situation, you know, where he's, like, trying to take flight off of Gordon's Hill. Like, I could see her attempting something similar. But, like, she'd have to be clever about it.
Yeah, like, every day she tries to strain on her rope when she's at the top.
Right.
Because if 73's at the bottom, there's no way that 73's in danger.
Right.
So I'm imagining that Sprite, like, every day tries to sever her cord so that she could, like, you know, like the trucks, like, have that hurrah, hurrah moment.
Right. And it's interesting. She's doing the same thing that Stone tried to do, except her plan, I'm going to clear the lake. And so she plans
I'm going all the way to Lakeside.
Like, she knows the way that the rail network is built, and she knows that on the other side of the lake is the Lakeside Loop. And she thinks if she plans this right, she can soar straight over the lake and onto the tracks on the other side and become a Skarloey railway engine, which is her plan, right? And, you know, like, imagine that. And then, of course, she does attempt that, right? She's, like, about to do this insane, daring thing where she, like, literally jets across the lake, right? And then, but the thing is, Stone has had, like, a bunch of personal growth at Croven's Gate, right? And he's on a flatbed on the way home right now. And, like, and you know, this time he's wise enough to shut his eyes as he goes 30 miles an hour.
and then, like, Sprite and 73 are just starting to inch close to each other. And then 73 is, like, beginning to put two and two together.
Right, yeah.
73 is like, Sprite, what are you doing?
I'm doing what I was always built to do! What I was always meant to do! I'm going to soar!
That is an incorrect claim. You are a funicular engine who is meant to complete funicular tasks.
Don't tell me what I'm for! You know? Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. I need that rush! It's the only way!
No, stop. Please.
Right.
I am begging you.
There's no one on this planet who can change my mind!
No.
Sprite, stop! And then she hears Stone from the top, right? And she's just like, what? Stone? Stone, are you back?
Yeah, I am, and I can already tell within 5 seconds of being here what you're planning to do. You're not gonna clear the lake, trust me!
Oh, you know me too well, but I must! It's my destiny!
It's your death wish, don't do it!
You're one to talk about death wishes.
I am one to talk. I've learned
Listen
a
to
lot.
the sad train. Do not go.
Oh, would you be quiet? We're having a moment.
But she's right, Sprite. Don't do it. Don't do anything crazy. I realize now, I mean, it might not be the most fun existence. It might not be the coolest way to run a railway, but you know what? I've got you and you've got me. And that's all that matters. So don't do something crazy that'll get you killed. Because I know what I'm talking about. And I want to live now, Sprite. And I want you to live too. So we can go up and down this hill for the rest of our days. What do you say?
That sounds operational. I'm not talking to you!
Well, Stone, it was so miserable without you here.
Really?
Oh my god. 73, you must be a very nice engine, but you're so boring. I mean...
I was designed to be boring. That checks out.
Stone, I never thought I'd hear the words come from you. Oh my god, what am I doing? What? Was I about to go off? Was I about to go across the lake?
You were! Yeah, you definitely were!
Affirmative.
Oh my god, I'm going loopy. Oh my god.
And
I'm so embarrassed.
And she changes her mind, but then the wear on the rope actually has gotten to the point where there's too much wear, and it snaps anyway, and there she goes, and just, whoa!
And then 73's like, oh no, please, no. And then Sprite slams into 73. 73 flies off the station and goes over the lake. 73's like,
Into the distance.
Duke is going by like, oh my god.
Imagine that. He's just pulling like a picnic train, and then just a funicular engine soars overhead. He's just like,
Forget his grace. This would not suit anyone! You know?
oh my god.
And then 73 like crashes down beside Duke.
Right. Oh, good lord.
Oh, this newfangled technology. I knew it was going too far.
73 is like, that was awesome.
Yeah. So
I want to do it again.
She's finally developed an interest, if only because she's short-circuited. But yeah, so they, 73 goes away again to be repaired and sent back wherever she came from. And then Sprite and Stone start working together once again. And this time, they really do truly appreciate each other. Mostly that Stone appreciates Sprite, but also that, Sprite realizes that, there's a point where you have to put a limit on things. Like, you can't go crazy.
Right.
And so the two of them have learned a lot from each other and from their experience of being separated. And then they both work somewhat happily. I mean, Stone he's kind of like an Eeyore type character, like from Winnie the Pooh, where he's like, even if he's happy, he's sad. Like Cranky is always
happily
gonna be cranky.
sad.
Exactly. He's happily sad, and Sprite is just, brimming with cheer as always, but she's not going to do anything crazy because she realizes that she's got too much at stake, and they both do. And so they both operate happily into the present. And I think that's the tale.
That was fun-icular.
It really was. That was a really neat story. That was just absolutely nuts.
God. It had. I'll tell you what, Lemmy. It had its ups and downs.
Oh, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that really was great. I mean, that was really something. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just such a neat concept that just exists.
No one has really touched the funicular railway. I mean, I've seen it mentioned on Twitter. I've seen it. I mean, I barely knew it existed until I just looked at this wiki article.
I know. I've always known it's a thing in the back of my head, but it's like something that almost never gets talked about. And it's cool to actually talk about it, And,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so Sprite the sprightly and Stone the somber. There we go.
I guess, yeah. Wow. I mean, that's crazy. We had all three characters had arcs.
Yeah.
Sprite had an arc, Stone had an arc, and we gave 73 an arc.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Anyhow, I think we should probably cap it off. Obviously, we could keep on doing this forever.
Well, we're back, baby, with character gallery.
Yes,
so
we are absolutely.
This is great.
We are back, baby, is absolutely the case.
Character gallery is back.
But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know, what you thought, because I mean, we always love seeing.
We basically just gave you 3 OCs,
yeah, more or less, yeah. So I'm curious, and of course, what are I want to hear the audience's ideas for the funicular railway. I mean, there's so many different directions you could
so
go
open ended. Like literally, Lemmy and I did not talk, and our concept art is very different from each other.
Right.
The designs are both very different.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm sure we'll incorporate them both into the graphic you see right now, which kind of represents both of our our feelings on these characters. But yeah, it's been great. So without further ado, I've been Master of the Lemons, aka Lemmy.
My designation is here, the Japanese train, aka Matt.
And thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you next time.
We will see you in the next episode. Episode 27. Character to be determined. Goodbye.